Thank you very much.
Sounds like we're being invaded.
So I just wanted to close up by saying a few words. I'm going to try and keep my composure. Probably won't succeed. My father was one of the nicest men you could ever meet. It is amazing how many times people have said this to my mother and me over the last few weeks, but of course it is true. He loved his life and all of the details that went into it. A day at the golf course, or tennis when he was younger, dinner at 6 with a beer, though he really preferred ale, especially if it was spaghetti and meatballs, especially if it was Bob's. Bridge with friends, though I suspect that was more for my mother than for him. Going to the ballet, listening to opera, eating pastrami on his birthday, reading Scientific American or a good autobiography. He didn't need material things to make him happy, and indeed he really couldn't understand why people did. He was the least pretentious man there ever was. I remember when I was packing for sleepaway camp when I was 11, and he gave me one of those plastic fold-up raincoats in a little plastic pouch. He thought it made perfect sense for me to take it to camp in case it rained. And of course it did, but as an 11-year-old girl far more concerned with how I looked than with being practical, I told him there was no way I would take it. And he had this look of just disbelief. He just couldn't understand it. And my mother and I remember, started to laugh just uncontrollably because of his confusion. My father had a wonderful life. He came from loving, kind parents and a sister who adored him. He lived his life surrounded by close friends, many of whom he had met as a child, and many of whom are here today. He married his high school sweetheart. It is impossible to think of my father without thinking of my mother. Herb and Charlotte, Charlotte and Herb, more than anything else he taught us, he showed us all what marriage meant. He was a loving and proud grandfather, and you can see in the pictures we showed how proud he was by what he and my mother created. I don't know how he envisioned his life would turn out when he was a child, but I suspect it matched up pretty well with the reality. He wasn't focused on achieving great things, but of course that's exactly what he did, as evidenced by the love he gave us all and the love so many people gave him back. And I found a poem which we read family when we buried his ashes, and I thought it was just very appropriate. Not how did he die, but how did he live? Not what did he gain, but what did he give? These are the units to measure the worth of a man as man, regardless of birth. Not what was his church, nor what was his creed, but had he befriended those really in need? Was he ever read with word of good cheer, to bring back a smile, to banish a tear? Not what did the sketch in the newspaper say, but how many were sorry when he passed away. So I've been having glasses of wine every place. I'd just like to raise a glass, if you have it, to my father and say the world was a better place because he was here. Thank you.
Better way.